In Greek mythology, Circe was a goddess of magic. By most accounts, Circe was the daughter of Helios, the god of the sun, and Perse, an Oceanid. Her brothers were Aeates, the keeper of the Golden Fleece, and Perses. Her sister was Pasiphaë, the wife of King Minos and mother of the Minotaur. Other accounts make her the daughter of Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft herself. Circe was renowned for her vast knowledge of potions and herbs. Through the use of magical potions and a wand or a staff, she transformed her enemies, or those who offended her, into animals. Some say she was exiled to the solitary island of Aeaea by her subjects and her father for ending the life of her husband, the Prince of Colchis. Later traditions tell of her leaving or even destroying the island and moving to Italy, where she was identified with Cape Circeo. In ancient literature, in Homer's Odyssey, Circe is described as living in a mansion that stands in the middle of a clearing in a dense wood. Around the house prowled strangely docile lions and wolves, the drug victims of her magic. They were not dangerous, and fawned on all newcomers. Circe worked at a huge loom. She invited Odysseus' crew to a feast of familiar food, a pottage of cheese and meal, sweetened with honey and laced with wine, but also laced with one of her magical potions, and drunk from an enchanted cup. Thus so she turned them all into swine with a wand after they gorged themselves on it. Only Eurylochus, suspecting treachery from the outset, escaped to warn Odysseus and the others who had stayed behind at the ships. Odysseus set out to rescue his men, but was intercepted by the messenger god, Hermes, who had been sent by Athena. Hermes told Odysseus to use the holy herb moly to protect himself from Circe's potion and, having resisted it, to draw his sword and act as if he were to attack Circe. From there, Circe would ask him to bed, but Hermes advised caution, for even there the goddess would be treacherous. She would take his manhood unless he had her swear by the names of the gods that she would not. Odysseus followed Hermes's advice, freeing his men and then remained on the island for 1 year, feasting and drinking wine. According to Homer, Circe suggested 2 alternative routes to Odysseus to return to Ithaca, toward Plancte, the Wandering Rocks, or passing between the dangerous Scylla and the whirlpool like Charybdis, conventionally identified with the Strait of Messina. She also advised Odysseus to go to the underworld and gave him directions. Later Greek literature, towards the end of Hesiod's Theogony, it is stated that Circe bore Odysseus 3 sons, Aeetes or Agrius, Latinus, and Telegonus, who ruled over the Ticinoi, that is the Etruscans. The Telegony, an epic now lost, relates the later history of the last of these. Circe eventually informed him who his absent father was and, when he set out to find Odysseus, gave him a poisoned spear. With this he killed his father unknowingly. Telegonus then brought back his father's corpse, together with Penelope and Odysseus' other son Telemachus, to Aeaea. After burying Odysseus, Circe made the others immortal. According to Lycophron's Alexandra and John Zez's Scholia on the poem, however, Circe used magical herbs to bring Odysseus back to life after he had been killed by Telegonus. Odysseus then gave Telemachus to Circe's daughter Pasiphaë in marriage. Sometime later, Telemachus had a quarrel with his mother-in-law and killed her. Pasiphaë then killed Telemachus to avenge her mother's death. On hearing of this, Odysseus died of grief. Dionysius of Halicarnassus cites Xenogoras, the 2nd century BC historian, as claiming that Odysseus and Circe had 3 sons, Romus, Antaeus, and Ardeaeus, who respectively founded 3 cities called by their names, Rome, Antium, and Arde. In a very late Alexandrian epic from the 5th century AD, the Dionysiaca of Nonnus, her son by Poseidon is mentioned under the name of Phornos. In the 3rd century BC epic, the Argonautica, Apollonius Rhodius relates that Circe purified the Argonauts for the death of Apsitus, maybe reflecting an early tradition. In this poem, the animals that surround her are not former lovers transformed but primeval Euro-beasts, not resembling the beasts of the wild, nor yet like men in body, but with a medley of limbs a Euro-unregistered trademark. 3 ancient plays about Circe have been lost, the work of the tragedian Aeschylus and of the 4th century BC comic dramatists Ephippas of Athens and Anaxilas. The first told the story of Odysseus' encounter with Circe. Vase paintings from the period suggest that Odysseus' half-transformed animal men formed the chorus in place of the usual satyrs. Fragments of vernaculars also mention the transformation, and one of the characters complains of the impossibility of scratching his face now that he is a pig. Latin literature. The theme of turning men into a variety of animals was elaborated by later writers, especially in Latin. In the Aeneid, Aeneas skirts the Italian island where Circe now dwells, and hears the cries of her many victims, who now number more than the pigs of earlier accounts. The roars of lions that refuse the chain, the grunts of bristled boars, and groans of bears, and herds of howling wolves that stun the sailors' ears. Ovid's Metamorphoses collects more transformation stories in its 14th book. The 4th episode covers Circe's encounter with Ulysses, with the detail that he too is changed to a pig and only Eurylochus remains to rescue the men. The first episode in that book deals with the story of Glaucus and Scylla, in which the enamored sea god seeks a love philtre to win Scylla's love, only to have the sorceress fall in love with him. When she is unsuccessful, she takes revenge on her rival by turning Scylla into a monster. The story of the Latin king Picus is told in the 5th episode. Circe fell in love with him too. When he preferred to remain faithful to his wife Cernunnos, she turned him into a woodpecker. The gens Mammalia, described by Titus Livius as one of the most distinguished families of Latium, claimed descent from Mammalia, a granddaughter of Odysseus and Circe through Telegonus. One of the most well-known of them was Octavius Mammallius, princeps of Tusculum and son-in-law of Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, the 7th and last king of Rome. Retellings from the Middle Ages to modern times. Giovanni Boccaccio provided a digest of what was known of Circe during the Middle Ages in his De Mulieribus Claris. While following the tradition that she lived in Italy, he comments wryly that there are now many more temptresses like her to lead men astray. There is a very different interpretation of the encounter with Circe in John Gower's long didactic poem Confessio Amantes. Ulysses is depicted as deeper in sorcery and readier of tongue than Circe, and through this means leaves her pregnant with Telegonus. Most of the account deals with the son's later quest for and accidental killing of his father, drawing the moral that only evil can come of the use of sorcery. The story of Ulysses and Circe was retold as an episode in Georg Roland Hagen's German verse epic, Froschmürsela. In this 600-page expansion of the pseudo-Homeric Batrachum Eumakia, it is related at the court of the mice and takes up sections 5 to 8 of the first part. In Lope de Vega's Miscellany La Circe, con otras rimas y prosas, the story of her encounter with Ulysses appears as a verse epic in 3 cantos. This takes its beginning from Homera Euro unregistered trademark S account, but it is then embroidered. In particular, Circe Euro unregistered trademark S love for Ulysses remains unrequited. As Circe's palace, Nathaniel Hawthorne retold the Homeric account as the 3rd section in his collection of stories from Greek mythology, Tanglewood Tales. The transformed Picus continually appears in this, trying to warn Ulysses, and then Eurylochus, of the danger to be found in the palace, and is rewarded at the end by being given back his human shape. In most accounts Ulysses only demands this for his own men. In the arts, scientific interpretations, in botany the Circe are plants belonging to the enchantress nightshade genus. The name was given by botanists in the late 16th century in the belief that this was the herb used by Circe to charm Odysseus' companions. Medical historians have speculated that the transformation to pigs was not intended literally but refers to anticholinergic intoxication. Symptoms include amnesia, hallucinations, and delusions. The description of moly fits the snowdrop, a flower of the region that contains galantamine, which is an anticholinesterase and can therefore counteract anticholinergics. Other influence, the Circe effect, coined by the enzymologist William P. Jenks, refers to a scenario where an enzyme lures its substrate towards it through electrostatic forces exhibited by the enzyme molecule before transforming it into product. Where this takes place, the catalytic velocity of the enzyme may be significantly faster than that of others. Linnaeus named a genus of the Venus clams after Circe in 1778. Her name has been given to 34 Circe, a large, Dark main belt asteroid first sighted in 1855. There are a variety of chess variants named Circe in which captured pieces are reborn on their starting positions. The rules for this were formulated in 1968. Indian author Nirad C. Chodharai named his 1965 book of essays The Continent of Circe, using the Greek mythological character as a metaphor for his interpretation of India's history. References. Sources: Ancient, Hesiod. The Homeric Hymns and Homerica with an English translation by Hugh G. Evelyn White. Theogony, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Harvard University Press. London, William Heinemann Limited 1914. Homer. The Odyssey with an English translation by A.T. Murray, Ph.D. In 2 volumes, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Harvard University Press. London, William Heinemann, Limited 1919. Lactantius Placidius, Commentaria and Statiae Thebaida, Ovid, Metamorphoses of 248-308, Servius, in Aeneid 190, Modern, Grimald, Pierre, The Dictionary of Classical Mythology, Wiley-Blackwell, 1996, ISBN 978-0-631-20102-1. Circe pages 104, Milton, John, A Masque presented at Ludlow Castle, Comus line 153 Mother Circe, Smith, William. Dictionary of Greek and Roman Biography and Mythology, London. Circe, external links, The Thoi Project, KIRKE.